Hi, and welcome back to Timewalk. Tonight, our time walker will be walking into a castle that was never built to live in. No kitchens, no great halls, just a chapel raised over a hole in the ground that the locals call the gate to hell. Let's follow her.
There is a castle in the deep woods of Bohemia that was never built to live in. No kitchens, no great halls for guests. It was built for one purpose only, and the people who raised it never spoke of what that purpose was. The locals call it the gate to hell, and here is the strange part: nobody has ever been able to prove them wrong. I am Aubrey, and this is Paranormal Walks. Tonight I am walking into the most haunted castle in the Czech Republic, a place built on top of a hole that is supposed to go straight down to the underworld. It is called Houska. It was built around 1270, and it has been terrifying people for 750 years. So let's find out why. The first thing you notice is that this castle makes no sense. No working well, no spring nearby, no farmland, no trade route. You cannot defend it easily. It sits in a hollow of the hills, and the forest crowds it on every side. Castles are built where they are useful, on a hill, by a river, guarding a road. This one is hidden in the woods, facing nothing, guarding nothing. So why is it here at all? The answer the locals give is the oldest one there is. The site is a door to hell. The pit underneath this castle is supposed to go down so deep that no one has ever found the bottom. And they say the doorway had to be shut, so they built a castle over it, and inside the castle, a chapel, and inside the chapel, directly over the hole, an altar, stone on top of the door that leads down. Inside the chapel there is a hole in the rock floor. It is partly bricked over now, but it was a real opening, and in the old stories it was bottomless. The local records say prisoners were lowered into it on a rope so they could be questioned. They say the ones who came back up had aged. They say the ones who went down screaming came back silent. One story from the 1930s says a prisoner was lowered in and came back out a completely different man, a madman, an old man, who claimed he had seen half man, half animal creatures in the darkness below. The same era's accounts tell of a giant frog on a rope that was pulled up and a black bull that appeared in the chapel. Take all of it with salt, but notice that no one tells these stories about any other castle. This is the part where I checked the actual history, because legends are fun, but they are not evidence. The castle was built in the 1270s by the King of Bohemia, Ottokar II. Ottokar was one of the most powerful rulers in Europe, and he built castles everywhere. But this one is different. This one has no purpose anyone can prove, and the chapel was painted with demons. Here is the fresco. The chapel walls are covered with angels and demons fighting, and it is not decoration. In the Middle Ages, you did not paint the war between heaven and hell on the walls of a room nobody was supposed to use. Saint Michael is there with his spear, the demons are losing, and the whole thing is arranged so the painted angels stand guard directly above the hole in the floor. The message is written in paint: seal the door. And there is one more detail in every account. The chapel is cold, not chilly, cold no matter the season, even in July, even with the doors open, and coldest right over the pit. People say dogs refuse to step into the chapel. People say the instruments of paranormal investigators spike over that exact spot. I cannot verify any of that tonight, so let me try to explain it honestly. Here is the part that made Houska famous. During the Second World War, the castle was reportedly occupied by the SS, and there are persistent rumors that Nazi occult researchers studied the pit. Heinrich Himmler really did send teams looking for ancient powers, for the Holy Grail, for the gates of the underworld. Whether they ever came here is argued, but Houska is exactly the kind of place his researchers wrote reports about. What we do know is that the ground is strange. The rock underneath is full of caves. A river runs through the darkness below, and caves swallow sound and heat in ways that feel supernatural if you do not know they are there. So the cold spots, the draft over the pit, the dogs refusing to go in, all of it has a natural explanation: limestone, water, moving air, and yet you still build a chapel over a hole because of a legend that will not die. To understand why they built this, you need the medieval map of the world. Everyone knew hell was a real place, a physical place, with doors. Volcanic mountains were hell's chimneys, caves were its entrances. In 1270, a hole in the ground with no bottom did not mean geology. It meant the underworld had been opened, and you did the only sensible thing: you put a church on top of it. And the idea did not die with the Middle Ages. The poet Karel Hynek Mácha, the greatest Czech romantic writer, visited Houska in 1836 and wrote about its strange dark shadows and the valley below. Romantic poets loved places like this, the castle that guards a door to darkness. The legend outlived the king, outlived the empire, outlived every attempt to explain it away. Which brings me to tonight. It is getting dark now, and the castle closes to visitors, so I have the place to myself. The woods around Houska are pitch black by 7. The birds have gone quiet, which is the first thing you notice when a forest goes quiet. There is no traffic, no village, no road noise, just stone and trees and the dark. Let me be honest about what I actually feel here, because you deserve the truth. The chapel is cold, and the quiet is real, and every story I have ever heard about this place is sitting in the back of my head. But I have done enough of these walks to know that fear is not evidence. What this place has is atmosphere, and atmosphere is manufactured by architecture, by silence, by stories. That does not make it nothing. It makes it something worth understanding. Here is what I can tell you that is true. Houska was built over a cave system. The chapel stands directly over a real opening in the rock, and the frescoes really do show heaven and hell fighting above it. Everything else, the prisoners, the creatures, the madman who came back old, that is the part of the story that grew in the telling, the way stories about dark holes always grow. And that growth is the real phenomenon. Here is something real I noticed. There is a crack in the limestone cliff below the castle, and cold air pours out of it all year round. In winter, the farmers said the rock breathed. That is what the pit really is, a vent. The cave system under the hill breathes like a lung, and the chapel stands over the main vent, which is why the room is always cold, legend or no legend. Here is the thing I actually came to say. People do not build churches on empty holes, they build them on fears. And a door to hell is a very specific fear, that evil is underneath you, that the ground itself is not safe. Every culture has a version of this. The Greeks had Hades' entrance at Cape Tainarum. The Norse had Hell's Gate. The Irish have the Cave of Cruachan, where the winter monsters come out. The door to the underworld is one of humanity's oldest buildings. So what is really under Houska Castle? Limestone, water, and 700 years of people deciding that a dark hole was a door. And maybe that is the answer the stories were trying to reach. The door was never the hole. The door was what the hole did to the human mind. Point at a bottomless darkness and say nothing, and people build a story around it, then a chapel, then a legend that outlives the king. And honestly, I think that is why this place works on people. The cold is real, the quiet is real, the pit is real, only the demons are optional. And that is the best kind of haunted place, one where you can feel the story in your bones and still not be able to prove a single word of it. The mystery survives contact with the facts. And yet, standing here in the dark, I will tell you the truth. The chapel is the coldest room I have walked into in 100 of these places, and I am not going to pretend that does not mean anything to me. Whatever the cause, this room is a place where the stories and the cold and the quiet all point the same way, and the human animal notices. You do not have to believe in hell to respect the room built to guard its door. So here is my honest verdict. Is there a gate to hell under this chapel? I cannot tell you. What I can tell you is that a king, a church, an empire, and 7.5 centuries all decided this hole needed guarding. That is either a lot of people being wrong about one hole, or it is the oldest story we tell ourselves, that the dark has a door and someone has to watch it. I will let you decide which one is scarier. If you want to see the chapel for yourself, you can. Houska is open to visitors, and the fresco is still there, and the hole in the floor is still there, under the altar, still bricked over. The castle sits in the forest north of Prague, and the buses stop right at the gate. Come at dusk is my advice. That is when the place does what it does. That is the thing about walking into the dark. You take the stories with you, and they change the place, and the place changes you back. I came to find a gate to hell, and found a room that makes it all feel possible. The castle has been keeping that story for 750 years. I just got to walk through it, and now you have too. If you want to walk with me again, you know where to find me.
If this story surprised you, subscribe and ring the bell €1 every walk, every week. History's waiting, and I'll see you in the past.